Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Lakhi Singh today, the property fixer, who's hosting the show. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues this morning, but they've all been resolved now. We're back on live. And our guest, the VVIP, Ninder Singh Johal, will be on literally in a couple of minutes. He's just been sent the link, so he's going to be backstage. So just give me 1 second to see if he's popped back in to the show backstage. Right, good morning, Ninder. How are we doing? Finally, we're here. Can you hear me?
Can, yep.
Perfect. We had some problems this morning with the volume. Hope you're well. And what's the weather like in sunny Birmingham?
It's not sunny. It's drizzling. In fact, it's quite bad.
I think we've got the same here. It's quite drizzly outside in sunny London.
Yeah.
Well, in the summer it normally is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of big news, a lot of things happening. Today's topic, I don't know whether you had a chance to read the intro, was about Boris Johnson. Let me just read out the intro for anybody who's not managed to read it yet. Is that Boris Johnson warns no deal, now very likely, whilst 38 million go into tier 3 lockdown. Now, massive lot of controversy going on in the news. A lot of people saying that there should actually be a lockdown and there shouldn't be. There should be a complete lockdown at Christmas time, the same way that it was otherwise, because the death toll is going to go up. So, I mean, this question is going to be far too, it's quite a big question. But I think the decision has already been made. They've already made the decision to actually allow people to mix for Christmas. So where do you think the government should be drawing the line between health and safety and people looking after themselves, or the death toll? Because they're saying that the likelihood of it going up is going to be very high just based upon the allowance of, let's just say your bubble being increased to three people in your bubble over Christmas.
Yeah, well, look, a couple of things. We're not quite sure where we are with the government, because on one hand, they've said we're following the science. And now, clearly, in this instance, they're not following the science, because science will tell you that during winter, influenza and colds are at their worst. History will tell us that the NHS struggles during winter anyway. And if we're now encouraging people to mix indoors, not outdoors, but indoors, then it's a recipe for disaster. I think they should have stuck to the rules, which was not give people freedom to do what they want over Christmas. Because that's the time when most people are shut anyway. The universities are shut, the schools are shut, and most of industry is shut anyway. So it almost feels like a lockdown anyway, normally around Christmas. So the logic defies me. And we'll see what happens over the other side. But this is probably an instance where you can't say we're following the science, because the science, I think, would say to you, this is a recipe for disaster, I think.
Okay, so I think on Newsnight last night, that's precisely exactly what the newscaster was saying to, I think, the mayor, the head councillor for Nottingham. And I think he was sticking to his guns to sort of say that the allowing people to go out on Christmas to do what they want is probably a good idea because people need some freedom as well. So that's quite an interesting actually question to think about. Now, what's hidden behind even this question now that we're discussing just below the surface is no deal Brexit. So the way the press have actually portrayed this is that behind the scenes, there's misery with the COVID-19, but behind the scenes, there's a no deal Brexit, which is literally being not really considered as something major because it's not really on the tip of people's tongues. So what do you think the implications of a no deal Brexit will be? Do you think it's, there could be, is there any sort of, there's a silver lining in every cloud, that sort of term? Do you think there's some sort of silver lining in there?
Well, it's a big question, isn't it? What we do know is particular sectors like farming and the automotive industry will struggle under a no deal, because I think a no deal reverts to what we call a DWTO deal, which means tariffs. I think I heard somewhere that if you are a farmer who produces lamb, then I think your tariffs go up by 48%. Anybody who buys components and sells components for the automotive industry will know that that's going to hit them really, really hard. Of course, people on the other side will say it will give us freedom now to go and do a deal with any other country, and they're off to India to try and see if they can do a trade deal with India. It'll be interesting what the Americans think of it all, because Biden is a different animal to Trump, and Biden's a friend of the EU. Trump wasn't, and it'll be interesting how that plays out as well. So, but the general feeling amongst economists, the OBR, which is the sort of independent body for understanding the economy, they've all said even if we end up doing 11th hour deal, that deal will still not be as good as what we have today, and therefore we will take a hit one way or the other. But under no deal, the hit will be a lot much worse. And of course, whilst all this uncertainty is going on, we don't know what's going to happen in the new year in terms of vehicles trying to get into the country and getting the products through. So there seems to be a craze now that there might be shortages. Prices might go up by 5 to 10%. Food prices, and certain foods may not be available. So there is this sort of panic happening at the same time. I remember when the shops cleared out of stuff, well, thinking it might happen again, but this time down to Brexit and not to COVID.
Right. So we've got two massive phenomena going on, and I think it's a bit of a cocktail for disaster. But it's a Friday morning. We're alive. We can breathe. We've got a lot of other things that we can talking about. I mean, there's another thing that comes to mind, which is I had a meeting with somebody who's quite politically connected internationally. There's into geopolitics and international politics, and I had a quite interesting view from somebody. And this is, some people probably laugh at this, is that he was convinced that Biden, there's a lot of fraudulent activity that happened with the elections in America, and he thinks that Biden definitely won't be sworn in because there's a lot of let's just say information about Biden which is not in the press, which is even more controversial than Donald, who came in, who had a lot of skeletons in his cupboard. Have you heard of any of these sort of rumors?
I haven't, but my understanding was it last Monday? Yeah, start of the week. He was certified, wasn't he, by the Senate? All the senators gave their votes in, and he's now officially and will be sworn in January. So I've not heard that rumor, and as far as I understand, even the leader of the Republican Party has also congratulated him. I forget his name now. I've forgotten his name now. So no, I don't think that will happen. I think Biden will be sworn in January to be the next president. Okay,
well, that's good to know. Now, obviously, the Property Fixer, we're very focused on helping people with alternative solutions and talking about really what's happening in the property world and the business world. Now, another topic is, from your point of view, I haven't been able to keep up to date with what's happening with the vaccinations. There's quite a few people that I talked to. This is sort of quite funny. They say, no, I won't take the vaccine. And there's other people that will just say straight away, I'll take it. Now, I've had a couple of arguments already with a couple of households, sort of family, friends, you could sort of say. I've asked them, are you going to be taking the vaccine for your family? And they said, yeah, we are. And they said, are you? I said, well, I'm going to do a bit more research on it before we decide. What's your sort of thoughts in terms of what's happening? Because it's it's a politically loaded question. But if my parents are going to take it, I'd like to probably know a bit more to do my own research to find out what the implications are. Is it all good, as we've been told, or is there anything else you think that people should be thinking about?
I think we're lucky. I'm not sure you and I can find out from anywhere any more than the scientists who created it. Does that make sense? There's going to be nowhere a depository of information that tells us more than what the scientists know. So I think whilst it's great to research, I just don't know where you're going to find the research from, because it's only just come out. And I suppose the only research might be those who are naysayers might put something out, but they're going to have to be quite highly medically educated to be able to put that forward, if that makes sense, to be able to compete against the medical establishment. My guess also would be, yes, we're in a hurry to get the vaccine done. But my guess would, there's a number of reasons why they have put forward why they've managed to get the vaccine done quickly. One is they've thrown lots of money at it. And normally this is something only the private sector does, but the public sector's thrown lots of money at it. Because they've thrown lots of money at it, they've been able to get a bigger sample to test against. So that's normally what takes a long time. And because they've thrown a lot of money at it, then the people who recommend whether these drugs go through or not have made it a focus to check it rather than wait and take their time. So I think those are the reasons. And of course, I was listening to one of the eminent professors said, we've been working on coronavirus for a while because it's around, but we focused on it much quicker around January when we knew this might mushroom. So actually, they've been at it much longer than we think. So it's not as quick as we think it is. They've been at it well before it even hit this country. And then they threw just a lot of money at it. And what we've got now, if the Oxford one comes through, we'll have had 3 different variants of a vaccine. I suppose if you only had the one, you could argue, well, hold on, this is the only one. We don't know if it's any good. Well, there's three now. So that is my guess. And that's as much as I know. I'm no doctor. I'm no medical expert, so I'm not going to be able to give you an opinion on the efficacy or not of the vaccine.
Okay, now go back to business and property. Tell us a little bit. Let's talk a bit more about things which are more in our control, which is really
Correct.
property business. Brexit's not in our control.
No.
The vaccination's not in our control.
No.
The pandemic's not in our control.
No.
But we do have control over our health and our well-being, our mental state. So what does, I mean, when do you think the vaccinations, because you sort of see a lot more about what's happening and on, let's just say, on the coal face, because you're integrated in quite a lot of senior committee meetings, etc., with the Chamber of Commerce, etc., etc. So, what do you how quickly do you see the vaccine being rolled out and things turning back to normal? That's probably what people want to know from a business point of view.
Yeah, so I think the general consensus that we're looking towards the summer. I know the governments are all saying spring, but I genuinely think it'll be around the summer. And I think the economy itself and big, large events, proper big, large events, I think will happen towards the end of 2021. And I think 2022 will be back to normal, and 2023 will come back to pre-COVID, whatever that was. But that's how it's looking. But a lot of it will be on a number of things. Firstly, back to your point, that nothing materializes from the vaccines that we don't know about. So that's the first thing. Second thing is getting the rollout quickly. So I think I came across a figure of 60 to 70%. If we can get 60 to 70% of the population vaccinated, then you've got that herd immunity, if that makes sense. So it's how quick they can roll out to 60, 70%. And then once those two have happened, is how quick consumer and business confidence returns to enable people to mix.
Right. Okay. So I think it is good news from a point of view. There's an end at sight, but it looks like even though we've got an end in sight, then we're going to have to deal with the overspill of Brexit. So we've got another, let's just say, somewhat more of a financial and a logistical issue for the government as well as businesses to have to deal with, especially if you've got huge interests internationally and with Europe. So I think that's going to be quite controversial. So we've got quite a tough 2021, but I don't think it can be any worse than it's been this year. What do you think?
I think 2021 will be much better than 2020, assuming everything rolls out with the vaccine. 2020, well, we'll never forget 2020 after we've been through. And I think it's just reset the button. I think we'll be different as people. I think we'll do business differently. I think we'll think at the way we do business will also be different. Our perspectives on being a human being, I think, will be different. And I think we'll be meeting people differently. And I think we'll be mixing with people differently. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting phase as we go back into it. But I actually also think once we're back in, I think we'll be back quite strong. And I think we'll have a boom for about 2 to 3 years as we try and catch up. So I think we just need to be patient, really. And we've got through the last 9 months. Just going to get through the next 6 to 9 months and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen when we get the vaccine, we will be patient. Bad joke.
Yeah. Quite good in the morning, actually. That's quite good. Only 8:30. That's quite good.
Okay, so going back to business, I mean, there's a huge vacuum, but yet there's a lot of time people have on their hands now during lockdown in tier 3. So what do you think people should be doing that are in business and property? Because we are on the alternative property business solutions community. What's the alternative thing? What are the, let's just say, 3 alternative things they should be thinking about now that even, that every week a perspective changes, and then they're about what's happening in the with the pandemic and now Brexit, but now also vaccines. There are 3 major things three major things happening concurrently. That's actually quite a phenomenon in itself. So what do you think are the 3 things we should be doing in an alternative way to counter what's happening from a business and property point of view?
Look, the 3 things you referred to are outside of control, and you said that earlier as well.
Yeah.
We can't control them. So I think we need to focus on what we can control. And I think now that we know what 21 sort of looks like and what 22 will look like, now's the time to take that helicopter view of your business and ask yourself, right, what for your business does the next 3 years look like? And I think that this is now really the perfect time to take that helicopter view and ask yourself, where is your business placed? What do you need to do to make it more competitive going forward? And what opportunities do you think lie out there for your current business model that you should start to plan to exploit in the future? So I think now's a real good time to sit back and to look at your business. And remember, now we're going into that natural, and I'm going to say natural lockdown period anyway, where most businesses shut for Christmas. And most people really over Christmas do think about the new year, the new financial year in March, April, and the new year going forward in terms of plans. So it's a perfect time to now sit back and reflect and look at your financial resources, your human resources, your marketing strategy, where those opportunities might lie for your current product, and what opportunities there might lie for some kind of diversification if you think you need to do it.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think the volume's gone on mine. Can you do me a favor, Ninder? Can you dial back in again? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I can't
Yep,
really hear you.
Okay.
Okay, we're just waiting for Ninder Singh to come back on, but VJ Sal is also available now. So hope you can hear me okay now. So just waiting for them to come back on. Just give me 1 second. 1 second. So we've had quite a lot of interesting facts and figures coming out about what's going on, and I think you've probably been bombarded by all of it on the TV as well. Just give us a few minutes. This is the quietest time of the show when we're waiting for the guest to come back on. But hopefully the tech should work in a second and we'll get Ninder Singh back on again as well as VJ Sal. I think they're all queuing up now in the background, just trying to get back in. So let's see if I can get them back in. But they don't seem to be able to dial back in now somehow. So here we go. Ninder Singh is back. Sorry about that. I think VJ Sal's trying to come back in the show now because the tech is sorted out on his side. So I think we're just waiting for him to actually connect to the link, so he'll be back on to cause controversy as per normal.
But he always has a thing to say. He's always got a thing to say.
Say again, sorry?
He's always got a good thing to say.
Yeah, he's got we should make him actually mayor or something like that, or give him the position of the exchequer or something like that. I'm sure he'll do a much better job with his skills, and his jokes.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be very entertaining in terms of being in a cabinet meeting with him.
So you're back on now. Here. I think the volume on my side is a tiny bit low.
Okay.
So I can probably need to be a bit closer to it to be able to hear you. I think VJSL is trying to dial back in now. So let's see where is that. So I think they're trying to dial me back in, but hopefully VJSL will be on in a second. He's probably trying to find his cool glasses, trying to get back on here. Okay, so while we're waiting for VJSL, so what are the 3 key things that businesses should be now considering we've got all these things happening? In fact, I've got VJSL ready now. Here we go. So
Ninder ji, can you hear me?
VJSL,
Yes.
you're back
You're
on
looking-
now.
You're looking
Yes,
very
I'm back on.
healthy.
Just to give you a quick update, VJSL, we've covered 3 key issues that have happened concurrently over the last couple of weeks. One is the vaccinations, the other is the
Brexit.
call it the lockdown and what's happening over Christmas, and then the no Brexit deal being actually swept under the carpet. So while people are in lockdown, they got no way of really having a say about it because they're too worried about their Christmas and their family meetings and being in lockdown altogether and their financial resources. So we've covered all of that, and we're just trying to move into a more brighter note about, what is it that businesses and property professionals should be looking at doing in terms of being, thinking ahead about what can happen and how to manage themselves.
Okay, good. Okay, Ninder, the question I was putting to you was, no deal in Brexit. Is that going to be a line of litigation on every matter that comes to fold with the European Council, and then subject to the outcome of that, will that be the precedence for the deal? Is that what's going to happen?
Well, what we don't know yet is where if it's difficult because we don't know where we're going to be at the end of this week and next week. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they come out with and how amicable the no deal is. But without a shadow of a doubt, both sides will lose in the event of a no deal. Both sides will lose. And it seems a strange thing to do.
Is it really a loss, or is it no man's land where important things haven't been agreed and it will be subject to the solicitors and the courts, European courts and the local courts? Because this is one of the things, once we were in Europe, a lot of people didn't like. One of the things I think was an issue in terms of European legislation being brought into United Kingdom, and the local courts had no say over a challenge to any particular law or bylaw. And I think this is what probably frustrated people in the UK. You've got a union who's sitting in Europe, and if you look at it in physical terms, I think it's just like any relationship. If you're not around, if you're not in close proximity, I think people seem to take it for granted that you're not important or you're not relevant. Isn't that what's happened in Europe, Lakhi Singh? That England is an island, Europe is one united, square of land. They have common borders. They have established common practices and norms. When you drive from France to through to Italy, or from Italy across to Spain, there are certain things that are already happening because you're common, your neighbors. And it's a different environment in Europe to have European legislation than it is to have it in England, which is an island away. So is it not the case that even people behave differently or once there's a distance?
Yeah, I think there is a sort of island mentality, and people do get, I think, how do you say, it's very difficult for them to relate to maybe Europe in the same way, because what you can't see, you can't really sort of understand, if that makes sense. A bit like the American sort of mentality. It's even though they're not necessarily an island, they're 52 states. They've got the very similar sort of mentality, and I think we're moving into a very sort of insular type of environment, which is just focused on self rather than a more of a union or looking beyond our noses in terms of working in a more collaborative way across Europe. That's my opinion.
Is that a positive thing or is that a negative thing, Lakhi?
I think it's pretty negative. I think being on your own and just focusing on a very isolated way of doing things doesn't work. So you need to actually be working with other. Need to be really collaborating, and even if there's no deal, there's got to be some common ground and understanding of really how things.
Do you apply these? And you apply. I mean, I assume you have people working remotely because of COVID, or people who are not actually in your offices all the time. Do you have that same mentality? Are you isolated in your thinking, or do you try to go on a consensus or a collaboration, as you call it? Is that the way you operate your business? Before you answer that question, I will jump over to Ninder. Ninder, sir. So isn't that the natural problem? That even though you can try and create a united Europe, a union of the Europeans, but it's not like United States, is it? It's probably it was one step trying to become an equivalent of the United States. But in the United States, you've got sort of a slow or a gradual change of language or ideals. But generally, United States is built up of the same clan people. So you've got the same mentality in the United States between all the states, except for laws being different. Because at different times, different laws have been derived, and the whole purpose of the United States and the Senate is giving each individual state its right to form its own laws and interpretate the statutory laws or the state laws, which is, it's a good way of giving an individual state its own independent, thinking based upon the actual people there and what they feel or what they find is suitable to them. Was it a wrong idea anyway? Was the European Union really too many separate states, too many different ideologies and cultures trying to think like United States, but it wasn't going to work?
Okay, so the EU was first set up so they could all trade with each other. So it's a trading setup. So from a trading setup, that was quite easy to run. So each country would run its own government, but what it enabled by open borders, it enabled them to trade and move goods and people around. But they were able to keep hold of their own laws. This is where you're right with the courts. Now, over time, the EU has tried to become closer politically, and that's where the problem starts.
Exactly.
When you try and get countries of different cultures, different histories to come under one political umbrella, it becomes a problem. When you try to impose one set of legal laws across different jurisdictions.
Is that when the Maastricht Treaty was formed?
Yes? Yeah, all that stuff. So that's when it starts to become a problem. In terms of distance, the distance between France and the UK is only separated by the channel. So distance is not a problem. The distance between Belgium and Spain is much further. So distance isn't a problem. And one of the reasons why we've got stalemate is Europe knows that it can't give us the same deal as Canada, because Canada's miles away, but the UK is literally just across the channel. So if anything, the distance between the two is too close. So in fact, it's not an island mentality. They're saying, well, actually, because you're literally just down the road, your companies could compete with ours very easily because of the shortage of it, as opposed to Canada, who are, have to cross a right entire ocean to compete. So in fact, we got stalemate is because the UK and Europe geographically are very close. That's what's causing the problem, the fact that geographically close. And of course, it's now about political systems. It's about.
So if there isn't a deal, if we take that supposition, if we take that idea, then technically for UK to break away without a deal is actually beneficial for the UK, because we become a competitor in every industry that we are good at in Europe with whoever they try to make as a trading partner in Europe and outside Europe. Isn't that really, if you look at it in real terms, independence, doesn't that help the UK?
So two things. Firstly, yes, you can now trade independently with the rest of the world, but it'll take a hell of a long time for it to equate to 400 million people. There's 400 million people only 22 miles down the road. You know how long it'll take to get that amount of people across the world in terms of trade deals? The US, it could take 6 or 7 years to do a deal there.
That's true. 400 doner kebabs, 400 million doner kebabs sold to Europe. A lot of money.
And when I interviewed this chap, Dinesh Damage, he made a brilliant point. He said, I would say, and I said,
400 million doner kebabs, Ninder.
Yeah, I said
an average doner kebab being around £3.50.
He said, why would you say no to a market of 450 million people? Why would you say no to that? And it's, by the way, it's just across the channel to get to. Why would you say no to that? So he came from a purely business perspective. So the question here, VJ, is it's between sovereignty and the economy. Which one do we take more seriously? The sovereignty or the economy? And the government has taken a view that sovereignty comes first.
Okay, so Lakhi Singh, Lakhi Singh. So we've discussed Boris. You've discussed. So why don't we go to post Maastricht then? Why don't we just simply go to post Maastricht then? Right, can you hear me, Lakhi Singh?
I can hear you fine now. We're cutting off a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, can't hear me. So there's a problem again. Am I frozen or am I still there?
There's a delay. There's definitely a delay.
With your internet, boys. Can't hear you and can't ask the question. Right, okay. You guys continue then, because how long have we got left? And our timing, we've got 5 minutes left
but,
for the drive time to finish. If you can hear me,
no, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
You want a $20 bill? Stick your hand up. No? Okay, if you can hear me, stick your fingers up. Can't do that either. You are out, sir. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Am I frozen? Are you frozen? There's a lot of breakup of communication. Lakhi Singh, probably something that's common to you nowadays. Breakup of communication, not able to get communication going?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Can you hear us okay? Talk.
$20 bill, stick your hand up. Right, okay. So I think we've got something back, something like normality. Yes, we have. Right, okay, excellent. Right, okay. So Lakhi Singh, vaccinations you covered, COVID you've covered, and now you're looking at the upside. Quick, we've got 4 minutes left, I think. Tell me,
No, we've got
in
about
light
15
of
because we
the fact
started a
that
bit
you
late.
got a
We're 40 minutes in.
lockdown in place,
We're
you
40 minutes
have
in, so we've got
exit
about
from
15 minutes.
Europe without
Can
a
you hear me,
deal.
Ninder?
Yeah, I can.
You can hear me fine, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear
I'm
you.
saying we're 40 minutes in, we've got
Okay.
another 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. All right. So we're 40 minutes in. Okay. Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. So, okay. So the question is, Lakhi, what light can you give to traders, to business people at the end of the tunnel? You got lockdown, you got exit from Europe, you got no deal, you've got the vaccine that's come in, but you've got no one actually going out to buy anything. What hope are you giving the traders, the builders, the bankers, the consultants, the corner shop gentlemen, the food chain? What hope are you giving them?
Well, there's a silver lining to every cloud. So, well, there's a cloud, there's a silver lining anyway. So the point is that you can only do what you can do within your means. So I think number one is look after your health, because without that, you're gonna, if you get stressed out by about not knowing what's happening around you in terms of the government, the lockdown, Brexit, I think getting stressed out itself is actually a problem. So I think you need to keep your energy and your frequency high at all times, regardless of people not communicating or the government trying to maybe suppress the problems and trying to put them on the people. So that's number one. Second thing is you still have got an international market, and you've still got online access, you've got technology. So there's a opportunity to probably look at another way of doing business and seeing what gaps there are with Brexit now potentially being a no deal, what the angle where you can still transact, because there is still an online thing. If you integrate Europe, maybe using online tech, there may be some angle in that. Thirdly, going back to brass tacks, there may be ample opportunity in a new industry sector that you may not have considered if you're stuck because of Europe. So I think looking at new markets, being more creative, or maybe moving up a notch in terms of your branding to more of a luxury brand, or moving down a notch in terms of maybe getting a lower cost production of whatever you're doing. So I think you're really going to be thinking outside the box now and start looking at things afresh.
Okay, Ninder, how do you give the local doner kebab shop an understanding of that? How do you tell this gentleman to start selling your doner kebabs online or export your doner kebab to Japan? By the time it gets there, it's probably going to be not worth eating. So how do you give that type of advice? Is this all macro advice? I mean, is it actually going to give any comfort to the local shopkeeper, the local trader, the local hardware store? Where is this advice? Is all sort of macro? Isn't this all macro advice? How does this work for the the local estate agent?
I think anybody who runs a business based on a geographical area, so your customers are from a defined geographical area, the opportunities that lie for them are multitude. One is to replicate the same model in another geographical. It could also be to ask yourself, the people we are currently serving within our geographical area, can we service them with other products? Can we add value by giving them other products? So, there's a number of things they can do, and I think Lakhi's talked about them already, about making sure that if there are products you can sell digitally, put them on digital. If there are additional products you can sell to your same customer base, then do that. Up your marketing, up your website, and get your marketing right so you can pull in more customers, more clients, because your competition maybe is shut. So there's a lot of things you can do, and you can train your people to be even better at customer service. So lots of things you can do if you work within a defined geographical area. Lots of things you can still do to improve your...
Okay, let's suppose that's the case. So which industries, Lakhi, are you trying to give this positive advice to then? Can we know what industry? Are you telling someone to go up a notch and become slightly more higher in their sales, high-end sort of luxury brand? What, a doner kebab shop? Is that sort of like, can you get better doner meat? Can you wrap it up in gold paper and sell it at a higher price? Will people buy gold wrapped kebabs? Who are you giving this advice? What sectors are you giving this advice to?
Well, I think the point is that any adversity, there's always something that comes out of it that's actually could also be a positive. So I think there isn't really like a set formula for a doner kebab shop. But I think there may be set formula. I think, for example, there are things that are happening in the market with tech. So I think technology, if you investigate gadgets or tools, there are a lot of wealthy people still in the United Kingdom. There'll be a lot of international people coming in. You've still got a very high-end luxury market where people are willing to pay for tailored goods, tailored services. So I think you have to really think outside the box. And let's just say that everything clears up by Q3 of next year, where the lockdown ceases and vaccinations have been given to more than 50% of the population. So the question is going to be, it's just like when we had the problem, a lot of people got into PPE, providing private sort of equipment for the industry to help with COVID-19. So as people coming out of it, there's going to be opportunity. So the opportunity could be, you've got a lot of retail shops closing down. So if somebody's thinking ahead now, the shops that are closing down, what else could you be doing with those shops in a changing economy to make them profitable? And if you're going to have lots of landlords sitting on properties that they can't let out. Now, there must be some opportunity there to come up with an innovation, to maybe come up with a new product or a new service or a new service-based aspect of retail that you can't get. So I don't know. I think the opportunities are huge. Just have to do your research.
Okay, so research is the key. The research. Before we go back to Ninder, sir, we've got a shout out from Mandy, from Sonia. We've got a shout out to John Smith, all giving us a big shout out this morning. Lots of love hearts coming through. Yesterday we had about 4 ladies all snuggling together on my screen at the same time with me and Lakhi Singh. Today we've got lots of love hearts coming through. I assume they're from Ninder Singh, obviously fans of yours, Ninder, trying to squeeze their love heart into you. We've got about 6 people watching us on YouTube. Okay, so the question goes back to Ninder, sir. What do you say? Is this for advice that Lakhi Singh gives and you're also sort of supporting? Is this for a certain category or a segment of industry, or is it for everyone? Can a donor shop keeper look at innovation? And can you look at wrapping his doner kebabs up in gold lining to make them more expensive, a luxury doner kebab? Can you see that as the future?
I think for any business in any sector to survive, it needs to innovate. whether it's retail, whether it's wholesale, whether it's manufacturing. Innovation is the key to long-term prosperity. So I think any business should always be looking to innovate, to be different, to offer something different to the marketplace. And those who don't, there's a saying, if those who don't innovate, they will stagnate. There's very few businesses that have survived that haven't innovated or changed their offering to the marketplace. The marketplace is always evolving. People's tastes change, people's demands change. And sometimes people don't know what they want until you give it to them. And that was something that Steve Jobs believed in with Apple, that sometimes you have to bring a product into the market that the customer doesn't even know they need it until it's presented to them. So you know, it's you know, you got to react to customer needs, but then sometimes you might spot something.
Well, what about an idea? I've just got an idea, Ninder. I've got an idea. What if I came out with a belt that's got a 6-foot metal strap on it, so you can measure that you're at safe distance with the people around you. Obviously, you have to carry it around, but like an iron rod, just to poke people out of the way if they're too close to you. Is that what you mean by innovating, or am I imitating?
No, well, if I were you, I'd go down to the patents office and get it registered. Sounds good.
Yes.
I think Ninder's saying that you need to stick to your day job, VJ.
Stick to the day job, right? Okay. So you say innovate because you will stagnate. I like that. There was a saying before, you should say, don't imitate, innovate. So we'll add to that. We'll say, don't imitate, innovate, because you will stagnate. So, Lakhi Singh, what are you doing to innovate? How are you making moves in the city? Are you going to advance your systems? Are you trying to create more sophisticated processes, trying to use the latest technology? Or are you going back to shaking hands and doing deals on the back of cigarette packets? Or if you have to stand at 6-foot distance, maybe throwing the cigarette packet at each other as a sign of the deal being done. What are you doing, sir?
I'm not, the way I tend to work is I don't leave any stone unturned. So, I think everything has its rightful place in terms of getting your business to work. So the more sophisticated and let's just say multi ways you've got to reach out to your clients, the better. So using tech is critical. If you're dealing with ultra high net people, they don't always like to use tech or Zoom. If you're doing some sort of a massive brokerage of lending out 100 million or something, people may not want to be doing that on the phone, and they may want to meet you to discuss the specifics, because some things can get lost in translation and paperwork. So yeah, I think definitely having the technology, definitely having communication tools, definitely having back of a cigarette packet if need be. That's, some deals are done like that as well with certain clients. So there isn't really a right or wrong, but I think being open to sort of understand really how your market operates and how you can actually get a result is critical. So you shouldn't really close any doors. And I think just using a system alone may not be the solution unless that's the only business you've got. But if you're quite multi-dimensional, like our organization, because we deal with startups, mid-tier, high net, ultra high net clients, they all require different type of service or solution. So if I try to use a system with my Saudi clients or something, they may not want to talk to me. And the same light, if I try to just talk to every single property client that wants to sell their property, then you wouldn't really be seeing me on this show at all, because I'll be too busy. So the question is having that balance and understanding your audiences.
So what you've done is basically you've scrapped having a system. Ninder, does that make sense? Lakhi's going back to old school business, writing on pieces of paper and voiding systems. He's saying systems don't really work. So is he trying to put up a one-man resistance against lockdown and COVID? Is that what you smell in the background? He's the lone walker, the day walker. Did you smell a sense of purpose there in Lakhi's answer? Is he a bit like the Terminator fighting back against the machines?
I think before you say anything, Ninder, I think VJ Sal is getting the wrong end of the stick. I did not say that. If you let me just repeat what I said so that you understand. Let me just quickly repeat what I just said so you understand, VJ Sal. VJ Sal tends to sort of jump sometimes the topic. No, you can't. Just a second. Let me finish, VJ Sal, because I can't really take what I'm saying out of context. Yeah. So let me just repeat what I said if you don't understand it.
Answer the question, please.
So just give me 1 second. I'll just repeat myself because if you didn't understand what I said, then I don't want to be misrepresented on the show, please. I don't like to be misrepresented in the show, please. So let me just repeat what I just said. So number one, I think I said it's actually horses for courses. You need to actually have a CRM system. You need to have a CRM system.
Do you not want me
if you're dealing with high volume clients?
Do you not want me to conduct
certain deals do get done in a different mode altogether. So please do not try and get what I'm saying out of context, VJ Sal.
Do you not want me to? Do you not want me to conduct drive time? Please respect the decorum of drive time. Right, Ninder Singh. Is Lakhi Singh a lone wolf? Is he fighting back against the system?
Well, he qualified his answer by saying every business needs some kind of CRM system. But I think, and we all know this, if you're going to scale up your business, then you can only scale once you've got systems and processes in place.
Excellent. That's what I was looking for, Ninder. So you, in your understanding, any business wanting to scale up, if the business is about trying to do individual deals, yes, we understand there's a uniqueness there, but in reality, scaling up requires processes and systems. And I think Lakhi Singh is trying to fight against the system. He's the lone wolf, the lone ranger against the system. Which
I think, VJ Sal, you need to be able to listen to what people are saying. If you want to host the show, you'll be able to listen to what I'm saying very carefully. Please do not take what I'm saying out of context, please. Yeah.
Are you disqualifying my hosting? Are you disqualifying my hosting?
I'm saying if I'm saying something, you don't need to change what I'm saying because people know what I've said on the show.
Are you disqualifying my hosting? Are you disqualifying my hosting, sir? It's a straight question.
I'm saying if I'm saying something, can you just repeat what I said rather than change it, please? Yeah.
Are you not satisfied with my hosting? Are you having?
I'm saying if I'm saying something, do not change what I'm saying because I know what I've said. You don't need to change it and make it out of context, please.
This is the host's
I kindly request the host to be a bit more clear about what you're saying rather than changing what I'm saying, please. Yeah.
It is the host's discretion what bits he wants to take out and feed. It is not your discretion, sir. Okay. But anyhow, Ninder Singh, after that awkward moment with Lakhi Singh, who's probably having a fit. Are we still live? Lakhi's gone. Okay, so he's probably having one of those tantrums, I think, or one of those hissy fits. But hopefully the vaccination will probably have a tad of caffeine in the dose to calm people down when they're talking. Okay, so we're in the last seconds. Can we ask from you, sir, a light of ray of hope for Christmas? Because it's going to be quite lonely for lots of people. People are not going to have that time to share with each other. What do you say, sir, to the people? What should they do? How should they try to give them that closeness, even though they're not
I think, look,
able to meet each other?
Yeah, normally Christmas is sort of like a shutdown. Most of industry and commerce does come to a shutdown. It's the only time I know in the year, I'm talking about 12 months in the year, is when I know I'm not going to get many calls. Even during the summer holidays, you get calls, Easter, you get calls. So I think always Christmas is a good time to reflect, to recharge your batteries, to do a bit of reading. I'm going to practice a bit of tabla and catch up on my tabla.
Great.
And
are you saying you don't get time the rest of the year and you sort of use this time to...
Yeah, I'm going to do a bit of reading and I'm going to take stock of what's been a very challenging 2020. So I think 2021 will be great. I think 2022 will be fantastic. I think 2023 will be jumping off in all directions, saying what a great 2 years.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we're running out of time today. We will see you again, sir, on Friday, as usual. Ninder Singh, a great gentleman to have always. Lakhi Singh, I think, has fallen off his seat, as usual. We will see you on Monday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. The live drive time session with Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, who seems to have fallen off his broken seat. Take care, Ninder Singh, and see you next Friday, hopefully.